Hi YouTube, this is Roland here, and today I'm just going to make a completely different video. Completely left field, because I feel that I should talk about this issue. And I'm going to probably be doing more of these in future if I feel I can talk about the subject matter at hand. So I guess you could just call this Roland Talks. And today we're going to be talking about Asperger's syndrome and my thoughts on it, and because I actually have Asperger's syndrome myself, just opening up about it now. But also, I also want to talk a bit about what Asperger's is and what Asperger's isn't. So very key points there, because unfortunately in this day and age, I still see a lot of discrimination of people with Asperger's syndrome. Now, you may be asking, what is Asperger's syndrome? It's actually a developmental disorder and a learning disability. There are quite a few different ways to describe Asperger's syndrome. Basically, key characteristics from what I can tell you and what I understand and what I've come to know, is intense interest in a select few subject matters. You might be a little bit slower in your learning process, but in your subject interest, in your subject interest of choice, you can really take off. So, for example, at the moment, I study a diploma in IT. Okay, to be honest, I take interest in all the Microsoft and Cisco subjects. In fact, those are the bigger part of the course, I could argue. But to me, SQL does not really interest me. I still do the work, still submit all the work and all that sort of thing. But in class, I know, so I'm like, I really hate SQL. SQL is a coding language, for those of you who don't know. So yeah, I suppose that's a pretty decent example. There's also a perception of people with Asperger's, which you'll read and find in a lot of articles, which is the perceived lack of empathy. I do not think that this is a reoccurring trait of everyone with Asperger's, but it's something that I think it's something that can definitely be addressed with the correct treatment and the correct intervention. That can also be a factor. People with Asperger's also don't read body language as well, but again, these are all things that can, that with the right intervention can be treated. So it's not a stigma you should attach to someone that has Asperger's or any form of autism spectrum disorder. You should say, oh wow, it's typical of you, you've got Asperger's, or that sort of thing. That's just not cool, right? Some of us all deal, we all deal with our own problems in a way, it's not a weakness for someone with Asperger's syndrome to get help with these issues. Self-improvement is always a good thing, whether it be emotionally, whether it be physically, all that sort of thing, okay? Now, I think I've given quite a good detailed description of Asperger's. There may be one or two things I may have left out, but there certainly are some core characteristics. What I do want to talk about, though, more so, is the discrimination that people with Asperger's do suffer, unfortunately. But before I went into that, I probably should add a few more things too. Just bear in mind, I'm actually doing this raw. I'm not doing it with any script. I'm just going completely off the head. So yeah, I suppose the other things that I see as well is that, as I was saying before, some traits, with the right intervention, you can actually, you can pretty much solve some of the key traits of the syndrome. Something that's worthy to note is prior to, I believe it was May 2013, where Asperger's is now referred to as autism spectrum disorder, there are 11 different types of Asperger's. I'll actually leave a link in the video description below. I think the description I give is probably a fairly baseline description of Asperger's syndrome, but you can probably get more information about it regarding an article if I post a link to it below. So yes, now I want to get into the discrimination part. I think it's terrible and a shame, really, that discrimination still exists on a wide scale for people with Asperger's syndrome. Unfortunately, at school level, there's always going to, that's something we can try and take steps to prevent it, but unfortunately I don't think we can prevent it 100% of the time, as with any other form of bullying, unfortunately. But I mean, I remember in school I got given a lot of shit for being different when I was much younger, but I got the help I needed, and for the most part, I'm very grateful that I got that help. And, I don't feel that I missed out on friends and stuff. I didn't feel that, I suppose you could say when bullying did rear its ugly head, it upset me quite a bit as a child and whatnot. But, for the most part, I had a decent friend group when I was much younger. Some of them I still even talk to today. I don't see them as much, but, but yeah, when the adjustment to high school came to play, that was interesting. In year 8, I had someone a grade above me tell me it was my fault for my dad's death. Now, usually I don't talk about this a lot, but my father died when I was 7 years old, and he died trying to save me in a beach trip. In fact, in all the reports regarding me as Aspergers, that's written down as a key point. I will say it now. Usually, I won't divulge any more than that, but that does become a key, pretty much a key thing in my diagnosis history. And this kid, not only was he had he given me shit for having Aspergers previously, but he also he tried to blame me for my dad's death. And I went apeshit on him. I broke his arm, and he deserved it. He deserved it. I understand I'll only ever get away with that once in my lifetime, because I was not charged or anything like that, but he definitely did deserve at the time, from my 13 or 14-year-old perspective, to have the shit kicked out of him. So, yeah, that happened. I got sent to a different school, and then I just completed my schooling outside, because I was like, the school system, it wants to send me to subpar things. It wants to. I got sent to a school where people have drug issues and all this sort of shit. And obviously I did not fit in there, nor would I want to fit in there, because I didn't want anything to do with some of the shit they get up to. I watched other pupils stab teachers with pens and shit. It's fucking, I shouldn't swear, but it's very. Some of the stuff they do is very super duper over the top. Now, granted, breaking a kid's arm is a pretty severe thing, but given what he said to me, I still maintain that he deserved it from my perspective. People will have a different perspective, but I think he bloody well deserved it. And since then, I've had counselling and stuff over the years. I needed to, and I even getting my L plates in Australia. Here we have when we get our driver's license, we have 3 levels of licenses. We have our learners, we have our Ps. Well, we actually have 2 levels of Ps. We have Ls, red Ps, green Ps, and then full license. So it's not go get your license and you can instantly drive alone. With learners, you need to drive with an instructor and drive with a fully licensed driver beside you. And on your P plates, you can drive by yourself. You'll have some sort of restrictions here in Australia, like I believe red P platers have a curfew or a passenger curfew, not a driver curfew, but a passenger curfew. And green Ps, that curfew is not there, but I think you get an additional demerit point. And then full license, you can drink a little bit, not much. Don't go over the limit. I don't encourage drink driving. In fact, I'm very, I'm still very cautious when it comes to that sort of thing, despite having a full license. But I had to deal with discrimination from the RTA when I noted that I had Aspergers, and I did that. I noted to them at the time that I had Aspergers because I was left the impression, to my understanding, that I would need it for insurance reasons. I was like, okay, I don't want insurance problems. The way I understand how insurance works, I don't say get access to medical report and it's like, oh, you never told us about this. We're going to screw you over, or we're not going to insure you or anything like that. So I was like, oh, okay. better to be safe than sorry, but unfortunately, to be better than safe than sorry meant that I constantly had the RTA asking me, oh, you need to submit medical reports forms every so often. And then I went and got a psychologist report saying that Asperger syndrome does not affect my ability to drive. And they even threw that back in my face and said, no, you need to fill out our medical report form. So I had to go through hell. I wrote a very, very angry complaint letter to whoever was the manager at that particular RTA. And we pretty much had to go through sorted. And I got so offended by the way the clerk at the desk treated me at the time too. If it were up to me, I probably would have kicked the crap out of him. Now, granted, this is me older and not breaking someone's arm, but because, you know, there's a whole set of different circumstances, but to be told by someone that you're not good enough to get your license because you have Asperger's is kind of offensive. So yeah, that sucked, but it did get sorted in the end. When I've been pulled over by police on occasion for nothing serious, they sometimes try and tell me, oh, you've had your license suspended before, and then I explain it to them, and it matches up with whatever they find on their computer, you know. So yeah, so that was, you know, I was thankful because I was getting sick of the RTA saying, oh, you need a new medical report, you need a new medical report every 2 months. I felt that was harassment. I felt very discriminated against, despite the fact that they had a full psychologist report saying this will not affect your capacity to drive. In the end, you know, the report, they accepted that in the end. And yeah, I was like, how can you not accept the psychologist's report over your precious paperwork just because you want it filled your way? Ugh. I was like, that's the frustration I have with some forms of paperwork. Some people have to have it their way. But yeah, I think I've explained that enough. In school, you know, I think I mentioned a bit about schooling, but in TAFE in the past, where I study now, unfortunately, I did experience a little bit of grief there. I had the head teacher of my course at the time, quite a few years ago, when I attempted to do a certificate back then, pretty much call me retarded to my face. What had actually happened is I had actually done a lot of extra work for this teacher. I had built quite a few computers. I stayed back till later at night even to resolve some, resolve the fact that we did not have enough computers in the classroom when we were doing our work and when we had class on. And 2 students I had in a group project at the time were jealous of this fact that, you know, I was scoring a lot of points with the teachers and whatnot. And so they started to sabotage my bag and sabotage my work. And it got to the point where they cable tied my bag together. They got a warning letter, but the head teacher turned around and said to me, oh, you're not doing this enough. I'm like, well, that's crap. I'm doing my work. I'm doing this teacher, you know, a favor by resolving all the potential computer issues we're having by, you know, particularly the resource shortage, which is, you know, getting more computers built. This gives me the parts. Like, I could do it fast and efficiently too. I can build 8 computers in one day if I wanted to. And I think I've done that on a number of occasions for him. I probably lost count, but to give you an idea, you know, I just pretty much assemble them all one night. Students come in the next day, install the operating system, and they have a machine to do whatever they need to do. Now, obviously, with the advent of having more powerful hardware and some virtualization options, we don't need as many machines. But yeah, back then, that was, you know, and then the discrimination that actually happened in that sense was he knew I had Asperger syndrome, and he said to me bluntly, oh, you'll say to the counsellor you have Asperger syndrome, and I'll say this and I'll get away with it. So he really tried to, sorry for the outside noise pollution, he really tried to intimidate me with his position of being a head teacher. And pretty much, you know, that's I view it the same way I probably view people calling me retarded. You know, because he makes brief mention of me having Asperger syndrome and going whinging to a counsellor, and I'll just say this and get away with it. You know, so that's a discriminatory move, and that was not cool. Needless to say, that teacher actually got a severe written warning over what he said to me. And a few years later, he retired anyway. So I think he got sick and whatnot. So yeah, that was unfortunate to deal with. And then I've also unfortunately experienced discrimination with regards to having Asperger syndrome in regards to dating as well. Quite a few years ago, I knew someone, I knew a girl that I sort of liked, and she sort of liked me too, I guess. We went on a few dates. Then we didn't talk for a little bit. Like in person, but we just kept in regular contact. And one day out of the blue, she cut ties with me and that sort of thing. And this was on Facebook. Mind you, I was much younger back then, but I was like, well, why have I been blocked? Sending texts and that sort of thing. And then we saw each other. So I had number 2, so I texted her, and then we saw each other at an event. We got a few glances and whatnot, but we didn't talk to each other that whole night. Then she texted me and said, "Oh, but perhaps we should talk," and that sort of thing. And so we did. We tried to resolve it, and of course I was a bit annoyed. A bit annoyed back then too, right? It's a bit hard to explain sort of things. It's a bit disappointing too that I would have experienced discrimination here too. And little to my knowledge, I didn't know this at the time, but she actually suffered from bulimia. I wouldn't have held that against her even if I'd known it. But what really came to fruition is the fact that she also had a go at a few of my other friends at the time. I tried to tell her, look, this is not the case. One thing I probably shouldn't have done is probably tell her that I was aware of her bulimia, but she was aware of my Asperger syndrome. And I was like, well, and I did also say to her, look, this friend is actually sick. One of my friends that she was criticizing at the time actually had a breast cancer scare, and she just she was going to town on this person. I said, look, no one's out to get you. Don't think that just because they don't want to see you, they hate you or they have an ill will for you, this sort of thing. Okay, and I really did try to make that, even I understood at this time that it's probably not going to be a relationship, but let's just try and keep the peace amongst friendship amongst the three of us, this sort of thing, because there seems to be quite a few misunderstandings. So if we can mend it, fair enough. But sometimes some things are better off not being fixed. So I ended up doing this person, a few weeks later, a favor. I fixed their laptop for them. They asked me to set up a few things, which require me to have access to a few accounts to set up the software properly. And then lo and behold, I get a software notification from another computer she's probably using. I get this software I get this in the title. It says so this creepy guy with Asperger syndrome. And to me, I was shocked. This is me. I work in a computer shop at this time, right? So this is something, mind you, I did outside of work in my own free time. And I just stood there, I'm like, what the hell is this? So I clicked on it, I read it, and I was so damn offended. She pretty much just said, I am retarded on a forum. And when I spoke to her about this, she's lucky I didn't smash the laptop into a million pieces, personally, even though it would have been bloody tempting. It's what pisses me off so much is that she hoodwinked me. She asked me to do a favor out of, let's say the kindness of my heart or out of my generosity, but maybe part of me still wanted to be in a relationship with her. Who knows? I know that, but I'd also go on with the hindsight, like, no, relationship probably won't happen, probably not the best idea, but that sort of thing. But it still really pissed me off. She still viewed it as me wanting to be in a relationship with her, from what I read of the forum thread. And yeah, so I gave her back the laptop, and then I got into argument with her. I'm like, you bullshitted. I pretty much said to her, you bullshitted yourself through that conversation we had. You think I'm retarded? You're writing all over the thing, and then I just left. I stormed off from her place and whatnot, and then I kept getting texts and this sort of thing. And it's like, oh, I'll call the police. You don't stop contacting me. I'm like, well, you're sending me texts as well. So, and what I actually did in the end is, she didn't take it to the cops, but I did. I had a jailbroken iPhone at the time, so I just took a PDF copy of every single text we'd ever sent each other, and pretty much had that on file in case she ever did. So yeah, but we made pretty much from there that really that soured me so badly. The long-lasting effect of that disappointment, anger, that sort of thing, really, really did hit hard. And I must admit, it probably did even reset or bring up Asperger's like symptoms I would have otherwise thought I would have buried deep in the past. But yeah, in the end I got my one up on her. I used to weigh 114 kilos, and then I slimmed down to 91 kilos. And part of my motivation was pretty much to get back at her, sort of thing. But that was healthy, like in the sense that I used that anger and that frustration to fuel me further in my workouts and whatnot. And I even worked out with friends and whatnot, and they were very helpful at the time too. Like, if I was like giving up on a fitness thing, they'd say, like if they want me to do more push-ups, I'm like, oh, hey, I heard Amy said you couldn't do 50 push-ups, and I just get pissed off and soldier through 50 push-ups. So yeah. So I mean, I guess fitness is one of those things that did help me dig myself out of that hole, because I was super duper depressed back then. And unfortunately since then, I have had a few more instances of discrimination when it comes to Asperger's syndrome. I've had a friend, someone I thought was a friend. I've documented this before on this channel as well, by the way. I had to go to a friend's funeral. Someone decided to call me Aspie cunt over a position in a Pokemon tournament, and also threatened to send Muslims to my house and blackmail me for things I never said. So pretty much they tried to threaten me with some form of terrorism. That was pretty damn harsh. I was pretty forgiving back then, but because I saw him at Nationals later that year, he tried to patch it up, but then he called me an Aspie cunt again later on, and that really pissed me off. And I said to him, well, it's like you never meant your apology in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, you still intend to, you pretty much stood by what you said to me previously, and it's like your apology never happened. So yeah, take that as it is, but fuck, that's a bit severe to go and threaten someone's family with terrorism, all that sort of shit. And then more so recently, I have been criticized for having Asperger's syndrome in my dealings with Paul Hunnock, the administrator of Nugget Bridge, otherwise known as Makiri. Now, one thing that pisses me off, I will say this now. I could probably mention this in a separate video, but I feel I should speak on it, okay? Despite the fact that me and Makiri are arguing, he did call me retarded, and the R word, I will say up front, the R word is one of those words that pisses me off. I may have used it when I was a lot younger, but as I've matured, I've come to accept the fact that it's not a good word. And I'm actually proud of the fact that I've made that adjustment in my life. What I am very critical of, though, is the fact that after he became aware of the fact that I had Asperger's, he apologized, but then he continued to call me retarded consecutively time and time again in Twitter DMs. And He even wanted to lamppost on me about me being a hypocrite by trying to bring up the fact that I called someone a retard 7 years ago, when he does it in today's current present time, right? Now, granted, he did apologize to me again, and I've not spoken to him for quite a few months. We tried to patch things up, but there are some other hurdles there, and there are some other very concerning behaviors that I do not agree with of what he has done. But I will say that if he was going to apologize and then do it again, apologize, do it again, apologize, do it again, apologize, do it again, then how can you take the man seriously? He's trying to say, on one hand, I apologize. On one hand, I'm going to continue calling you a retard because I know you have Asperger's syndrome. And I think I can make this criticism. From what I understand, McKeary works in the Supreme Court. And what's he doing? He's spending some of his leisure time calling someone such as myself with Asperger's syndrome a retard. That's what pisses me off. Okay, if I need to provide evidence for this in future, I will, but not happy. I personally do feel that Paul really needs to pull his head in, Paul Honak, when it comes to his views on Asperger's syndrome and autism in general. But I want to conclude this video. I've told you some of my experiences with discrimination. I've told you a little bit of how I see Asperger's syndrome. I want to finish this video on this note. If you know someone with Asperger's syndrome, don't treat them like crap. Seriously. I think there's a good saying that, we've probably heard throughout the course of our lifetime. It's treat others like you want to be treated. Okay? People with Asperger's are aware of the fact that they're already different. Okay? They don't need you to tell them or to make them try and feel bad. And, they shouldn't be belittled. If you don't want to be belittled, don't belittle the people with Asperger's syndrome. Because that's asking for trouble, okay? I've given you various examples of how it's annoyed me over the course of, quite a few different events in my life. And I suppose, sadly, I also see it, not to me personally, but I've heard of stories and spoken to people that have experienced discrimination over Asperger's in the workplace. It's kind of sad that society has all these stereotypes for people with Asperger's syndrome. At one point, I remember speaking to someone that, he felt that because he had Asperger's syndrome at the time, I think there was a shooting in the US, I don't remember which one, a school shooting. The suspect had Asperger's syndrome, and then, someone made a comment to him, oh no, he has Asperger's syndrome, he's going to shoot up the whole school. So that's one example of a stereotype, that it's ridiculous for whoever made that stereotype to say, that stereotype towards him to, make him feel that, oh, because of Asperger's syndrome, it means I'm going to shoot up at school. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You don't do that sort of thing. You don't apply that sort of attribute to someone. So it's pretty much the same as people giving Muslims shit, and accusing them of being terrorists when they're actually, law-abiding citizens and following their religion the correct way. That's the way I see it. So, as with any discrimination, because I understand it's obviously a different subject matter, but I suppose you get where I'm going with the fact that, all society, no matter what the issue, hates discrimination, particularly people, in my situation with Asperger's. So we just want to be a part of society. We don't need society telling us that we suck or that we're not worthy to be a part of society, that sort of thing. So I hope that, I hope by sharing my story about Asperger's, you've taken something out of it. I know this video has been a little bit disjointed because I've just gone raw on it. There probably will be other videos like this in the future, probably with some more of a script, But I just want to say that people with Asperger's are also, or any autism for that matter, are also human beings. They deserve some dignity. They deserve some respect. Treat them the way you want to be treated. That's the one thing I want you to take away from this video. Do not treat them with contempt. Do not treat them, do not be hostile towards them. If you become aware, because there are some very good qualities. There are some very smart people out there in the world with Asperger's syndrome as well. Okay, and they make a very valid, contribution to society. So I think what needs to be done is that people need a bit more of a concise, a bit more of an understanding of what Asperger's syndrome is and what it isn't. And what it isn't is not retarded. That's the way I see it, because people with Asperger's syndrome do have really good potential in their in the subjects that interest them. They have really, really good potential. And it's not fair for someone who thinks they're neurotypical or better than the person with Asperger's syndrome to put that person down. Now, part of me, I will admit, still does think that, people who go, people want to make themselves feel big and go, oh, ha, you have Asperger's. Well, I'm big. I'm probably bigger than a lot of them. I could probably kick the crap out of them, right? Maybe. But, all likely. But I think that would go contradictory to what I'm trying to communicate about Asperger's syndrome. We're not retarded. We're not violent. We're not anything like that. We're just, at the end of the day, we're human beings, just like you. We want to be a part of the human race, and we shouldn't have to put up with some of the crap we put up with at present. But that ends this video. I know it's been long. I've been talking for about half an hour. I may have gone a little bit off course because I've had to dig through my past. Some of it I've had to confront. It's just, sometimes it's not easy to explain. But I'm glad I could at least share it with you. And yeah, hopefully you'll get an understanding of pretty much, that I can't stress it enough. Hopefully, I may even revisit this topic again in future, because this is obviously not the perfect video, I feel. But the one thing I want you to take out of it as a message is that, again, people with Asperger's are human beings. Do not discount our, don't discount our potential. Don't abuse us. Don't stereotype us. Just accept us for what we are. And remember the things that Asperger's is, but is not. And that is certainly not retarded. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take care.